The law, meaning the law of assumption, is one powerful tool to have in your arsenal if you want to create the life of your wildest dreams. There are millions of people who have changed their lives just by leveraging the power of the subconscious mind and their imagination. And through this channel, my aim is to help you realize how privileged you really are. No matter what kind of circumstances you face right now, you still have your imagination at your disposal, and by using this mental faculty correctly, you can very well get ahead of all the present limitations. I don't care if you are stuck in a bad relationship, or if your business is falling apart, or your SP just left you, or maybe you are feeling desperate because of a lack of money in your life. No matter how dire the situation is, it can be transformed through the law of assumption, and this video will strengthen your belief that you are the only operant power in your reality. Take a look at your life and see everything from the eye of an observer. Do you like the life you are living, and are you content with what has transpired? The present reality you are living through was once constructed in your imagination. Whether that happened knowingly or unknowingly is another debate, but it's you who is responsible for whatever life you have manifested till now. And this means that you still are in the process of manifesting. Observe your thoughts and states of being for a day and see what you think and feel most of the time. What you think right now and feel is actually creating your future. So, you have to be a little bit more careful about the thoughts you think and states you are embodying. As I said, there are so many people who have changed their lives around by practicing this powerful law. If you are a true Neville Goddard enthusiast, you must have heard so many success stories. And what's even more fascinating is that not all of these people knew it was a law or something. They just practiced living in the end state by feeling the feelings of the wish fulfilled, just because they liked it, because it made them feel good about their life and their future. Still, the law worked as it always does, and they manifested their desires into living and breathing physical realities. So for this video, I am going to share a success story that Neville Goddard shared in one of his lectures. I am sure you will learn so much from this wonderful story. I am going to summarize it in my own words so that you can understand it better and gain insights from what's being told. Alright then, let's get started with this success story. Neville says, once upon a time, there was a boy who was born into poverty in Odessa, Russia. He belonged to a Jewish family, and he was the eldest among his siblings. Tragedy struck at a tender age when his mother passed away, leaving behind a few helpless infants who were his siblings. At around 10 years old, he took it upon himself to support the family, as his father, though a diligent worker, couldn't earn enough to provide for everyone. So you can say that this boy had dire circumstances, where even basic survival was an everyday battle. The boy, of course, had never experienced the luxury of new shoes, pants, shirts, or hats. Everything he wore was donated and secondhand, mere hand-me-downs from charitable people who were kind enough to pass some used goods around. So, whenever his burlap shoes wore out, he would return to get another pair to protect his feet from the harsh Russian cold. He took on a job that involved visiting the bank daily with large denominations of paper money, which he exchanged for silver and copper. Upon his return, he would have an equivalent amount of money, this time in silver and copper coins. One day, while standing before the teller at the bank, he noticed the very similar external markings on the copper and silver coins, making them appear almost identical. A wild thought crossed his mind at that moment. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the cashier made a mistake and gave me silver instead of copper? At that moment, he entertained the assumption that the cashier had indeed made an error, imagining himself taking the coins and heading straight to a restaurant to experience the satisfaction of a full meal for the first time. He imagined that he would eat until he couldn't eat anymore, and then he would buy himself new shoes and pants. He knew the extra money would cover all the expenses he was imagining. Upon returning to the store, he discovered that the cashier hadn't made a mistake. Nevertheless, he felt a sense of joy in indulging in that assumption. The following day, however, the cashier did make the mistake. The boy immediately realized it and went to another bank to exchange the money for the correct amount so he could return the proper sum to the store, leaving the surplus money untouched. That night, as he lay in bed, he struggled with conflicting emotions. On one hand, he had hunger and desire urging him to fulfill his wishes for new shoes and pants, but on the other hand, he carried the teachings of his late mother in his mind, who had instilled in him the principles of not stealing and not coveting. In case you don't know, coveting means having the desire to possess something that belongs to someone else. The next day, hunger and the longing for new attire really overpowered the voice of his mother's teachings. He ate until he was stuffed and then bought himself a pair of pants and shoes, disregarding the conflict within him. Now, who was responsible for his actions? He believed that if the law had not been introduced into the world, he would have never understood the concept of sin. Without the law saying, "You shall not covet," he wouldn't have comprehended what it meant to covet. Yet, the guiding force within him led him to disobedience. This story is akin to the story of Christ, as we are told that we must have Christ formed within us. Christ is described as the reflection of God's glory and the exact representation of his being. So, who is forming the master? The term master refers to the supreme authority, the controller, God, the Lord. When the word master is used, it signifies the ultimate power and control. The controller is in charge of every life in the world, and that controller is God. Each person is consigned to disobedience so that God may extend his mercy. He emerged from his humble beginnings as a young, impoverished Jewish boy in Odessa, Russia. After the revolution, as the war concluded, he found himself among soldiers who left Russia and made their way to France. When he passed away at the age of 77, he left behind an estate worth millions. He acquired knowledge of the law and understood its spiritual nature. He personally shared with me that in his business, he never resorted to taking legal action against individuals with unpaid bills. Instead, after the employees had left for the day, he would sit at his desk and write a letter expressing gratitude to the person for their payment. Although he never sent those letters, he immersed himself in the feeling of appreciation for the checks they had supposedly sent. And he affirmed, within a short period, usually not exceeding a week, but frequently within 2 or 3 days, a check would arrive. It would arrive as payment for a long overdue outstanding bill. He added, "But I never had to sacrifice a friendship. Losing customers would be detrimental to my business, so I never had to confront a customer for payment. I've understood the law." I discovered that these assumptions, even if contradicted by my senses, could become a reality if I truly believed in them and placed unwavering faith in them. And so I lived according to these principles. It was long before I met you, Neville, long before I ever knew of your existence. I only learned about you through my wife. She acquainted herself with your teachings and the law, and we both connected with it during our time in Paris. But even prior to meeting her or becoming familiar with your work, I had already proven the efficacy of this law when I was a destitute little boy in Russia, and I started living by it, and it made everything easier and effortless in my life and my business. So, how was the story? Pretty inspiring, I think. This success story is proof that you can rise from rags to riches by just actively using the law. But it's time that you tell me what you learned from this story. And how are you going to use the law? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will make sure to reach out to you. The next step in your successful manifestation journey is to keep watching my channel. Click now on the video on the screen to be inspired by another video.